Commander Alina Torres had seen strange things in her 15 years with the Deep Space Patrol. But the crystalline ship that appeared on her sensors near Neptune's orbit was something entirely new. Its surface rippled like liquid mercury, defying every known law of spacecraft design. "Station Control, are you tracking this?" Alina's fingers hovered over the defensive systems. The response came back garbled, static overwhelming the signal. The unknown vessel drew closer, its hull now pulsing with bands of azure light. Something went wrong in that moment, a surge of energy, a flash of light, and both ships were caught in Neptune's gravitational field, spiraling toward one of its frozen moons. Alina fought with the controls, but it was like trying to swim upstream in a river of molten steel. The crystalline ship twisted in space beside her, its elegant form now tumbling just as helplessly. The impact came faster than expected. Alina's ship skidded across the icy surface, carving a deep groove into the moon's crust. Warning lights flooded the cabin as systems failed one by one. Through the viewport, she watched the alien vessel make a more graceful but equally final landing 2 kilometers away. The temperature gauge was dropping rapidly. This moon's atmosphere was thin and brutally cold. Alina pulled on her thermal suit, checked her oxygen reserves, and grabbed her emergency pack. The ship's hull had been compromised. Staying here meant certain death. That's when she saw it, a figure emerging from the crystalline wreck, tall and elegant in motion. Even at this distance, Alina could tell it wasn't human. The being wore what looked like flowing liquid metal, its form rippling like the surface of its ship had. Alina's calm crackled to life with a strange harmonic tone that resolved into words. "Your assistance is required for mutual survival." The voice was neither male nor female, but it carried a clear note of urgency. Through the swirling ice crystals, Alina could make out more details of the alien. Its skin had a faint phosphorescent quality, and its movements were almost hypnotic in their fluidity. The being raised a hand in what seemed to be a universal gesture of peace. "I'm Commander Alina Torres," she transmitted back, her breath fogging the inside of her helmet. "And you are?" "I am Nyxis, navigator of the 7th resonance." The alien's response came with another harmonic undertone. "This moon's temperature will reach fatal levels for both our species within 6 standard hours. There is a structure of artificial origin 3 kilometers from our position. We must reach it before the storm system I detect approaching makes surface travel impossible." Alina checked her own instruments. Nyxis was right. A massive storm was building on the horizon, and the temperature was still dropping. She had no choice but to trust this stranger from the stars. Sometimes survival meant taking impossible chances. "Lead the way, Navigator Nyxis," Alina said, starting the trud. The structure loomed before them like a monument to some long-dead civilization. Its angular surfaces were covered in layers of ice, so thick they appeared blue in Alina's helmet lights. The storm was closing in fast, bringing with it clouds of crystalline particles that sparkled ominously in their beams. "The entrance mechanism appears non-functional," Nyxis observed, their liquid metal environmental suit flowing like quicksilver as they studied the sealed doorway. "Your species is known for creative solutions." Alina might have smiled if her face wasn't numb from the cold. "That's one way of putting it." She pulled out her plasma torch, the blue flame sputtering in the thin atmosphere. The ice melted slowly, revealing hints of an alien metal beneath. Nyxis moved closer, their bioluminescent skin casting an ethereal glow through their suit. "The material is responsive to sonic frequencies." They pressed a hand against the exposed surface, and a harmonic tone emanated from their suit. The door shuddered, then split along an invisible seam. Inside, their lights revealed a vast chamber filled with machinery frozen in time. Alina's suit sensors registered a slight temperature increase. It was still well below freezing, but better than the killing cold outside. The storm howled behind them as they sealed the entrance. "Your technology," Alina said, gesturing to Nyxis's flowing suit. "I've never seen anything like it." "We call it resonance matter," Nyxis replied, their voice carrying that strange harmonic undertone. "It responds to thought and sonic manipulation. Your plasma technology is equally fascinating," crude but effective. Elena fought back a shiver as they explored deeper into the facility. Was this built by your people? No, Nyxus's luminescence pulsed slightly. This predates both our civilizations. Many species have found shelter here over the millennia. Few have left records of their passing. They found a central chamber with what appeared to be an ancient power core. Elena's engineering training kicked in as she studied the crystalline structure at its heart. If we can restart this, we might get environmental systems online. Nyxus moved to help, their liquid metal suit extending tendrils to interface with the alien technology. Hours passed as they worked together, combining Elena's practical engineering skills with Nyxus's understanding of resonance technology. The temperature continued to drop, and Elena's suit was losing power. Your core temperature is declining, Nyxus observed. The power systems require approximately 7 more hours to restore minimal functionality. Elena checked her suit's readings. I've got maybe 4 hours of thermal protection left. After that, she left the implication hanging. Nyxus was silent for a moment, their luminescence shifting through subtle patterns. My species can generate excess thermal energy through our resonance matter integration. It is possible to extend this field to encompass you as well. You're offering to share your suit? Elena asked, surprised. The concept of personal space is different among my people, Nyxus explained. We exist in constant resonance with each other. This would be unusual but not unprecedented. The storm outside reached a crescendo, and Elena's suit temperature dropped another degree. She thought about her options, which were basically survive or freeze. How would this work? Nyxus's suit began to flow, extending tendrils of liquid metal. Remove your compromised suit. The resonance matter will encompass us both, maintaining optimal temperature through shared thermal regulation. Elena took a deep breath. Years of diplomatic training had taught her to expect the unexpected, but sharing what amounted to a living spacesuit with an alien was definitely a first. With stiff fingers, she began removing her failing thermal suit. The resonance matter flowed around her like warm mercury, surprisingly comfortable and oddly comforting. She found herself enclosed in a cocoon of warmth with Nyxus, their bioluminescence creating patterns that seemed almost like stars. Your species' trust capacity is remarkable, Nyxus commented as they settled into position to continue working on the power core. Many would find this level of proximity to an unknown life form disturbing. Elena watched as her own hand, now coated in the flowing metal, reached for a control crystal. Sometimes survival means taking impossible chances. Besides, you trusted me with your technology first. Indeed, Nyxus's voice carried what might have been amusement. Perhaps that is why my people's legends speak of humans with such fascination. You embrace the impossible with remarkable regularity. The first sign that something was wrong came as a low vibration through the facility's floors. Elena, still encased in the shared resonance matter with Nyxus, felt it more than heard it, a deep thrumming that seemed to come from somewhere far below. That's not the storm, she said, watching as dust filtered down from ancient ceiling panels. Nyxus's bioluminescence flickered in what Elena was beginning to recognize as concern. No, the facility's power restoration has activated something in the lower levels, something that has been dormant for a very long time. The vibration intensified. Through their shared resonance matter connection, Elena could feel Nyxus processing vast amounts of data, the liquid metal around them rippling with complex patterns. The builders of this place, Nyxus said slowly, they were not merely seeking shelter from the cold. This facility appears to be a containment structure. Containment, Elena felt her heart rate increase. For what? Before Nyxus could answer, a screech of tortured metal echoed through the corridors. The sound was followed by a rushing noise, like liquid moving through ancient pipes. The temperature in the chamber suddenly dropped several degrees, despite the protective resonance matter surrounding them. We must move, Nyxus said, their usual calm voice carrying an edge of urgency. Now. They made their way through the facility's winding corridors, the resonance matter flowing smoothly around them both. adjusting to their movements in perfect synchronization. Alina had never experienced anything like it. It was as if she could sense Nyxus's intentions moment by moment, their actions becoming a coordinated dance. The rushing sound grew louder. Behind them, ice began forming on the walls at an impossible rate, spreading like living frost. Alina caught glimpses of patterns in the ice, complex geometries that seemed to shift when viewed directly. The builders discovered something in this moon's core, Nyxus explained as they moved. A form of crystalline intelligence. They could not communicate with it, could not understand its purpose, so they built this facility to contain it. And we just woke it up, Alina finished, watching as the ice patterns began to pulse with an inner light. They reached a vast circular chamber filled with banks of ancient technology. Through their shared connection, Alina felt Nyxus's recognition of the system's purpose. These are the primary containment controls. The crystalline entity is attempting to breach its confinement using the facility's own power against it. The ice was spreading faster now, forming intricate structures that reached toward them like grasping fingers. The temperature continued to plummet, and Alina felt the resonance matter working harder to maintain their thermal protection. "Can we shut down the power?" Alina asked, studying the alien controls. "That would doom us to freeze," Nyxus responded. "But perhaps." Their shared resonance matter shifted, extending tendrils toward the facility's interface panels. "Your species' creativity combined with my people's resonance technology might offer an alternative." Alina understood immediately. "We could try to communicate with it. The resonance matter responds to thought and sonic patterns. Maybe we can translate its crystalline language." The ice was inches from them now, its patterns becoming more complex, more purposeful. Through their connection, Alina felt Nyxus's agreement and uncertainty. This wasn't just about survival anymore, they were about to attempt first contact with an entirely unknown form of intelligence. "This will require complete synchronization," Nyxus warned. "Our thoughts, our resonance patterns must align perfectly. The risk of mental feedback is significant." Around them, the ice formed a perfect sphere, trapping them in its center. The patterns in its surface were moving faster now, like thoughts made visible. Alina took a deep breath, feeling the resonance matter respond to her determination. "Sometimes survival means taking impossible chances," she said, echoing her words from earlier. "Let's show this crystalline entity what our species can do together." The resonance matter began to hum with complex harmonics as Nyxus initiated the connection. Alina felt her consciousness expanding, merging with Nyxus's alien thoughts. Together, they reached out toward the ancient intelligence that surrounded them, preparing to either make history or become part of it. The moment their combined consciousness touched the crystalline entity's patterns, Alina's world exploded into geometric light. Through their shared resonance matter connection, she felt Nyxus's steady presence anchoring her as waves of alien thought crashed over them both. It wasn't language, not in any sense Alina had ever encountered. It was pure mathematics, fractals of meaning that expanded and contracted like breathing crystals. The entity's thoughts were vast, ancient, and utterly inhuman. "It's not trying to attack us," Alina realized, the words forming in both her mind and voice simultaneously. "It's trying to solve a problem." The resonance matter rippled with Nyxus's agreement. "The patterns suggest a computational process. This entity appears to be processing, calculating." "The heat death of the universe," Alina finished, the realization striking them both through their merged consciousness. The crystalline intelligence had been working on this problem for millennia, using the moon's core as both power source and computational matrix. The ice sphere around them shifted, its patterns aligning with their thoughts. Through the resonance matter's translation, they began to understand. The entity hadn't been contained, it had contained itself, choosing this isolated moon as the perfect place to contemplate the ultimate fate of existence. But their power restoration efforts had disrupted its calculations, forcing it to reach out, to defend its work. The freezing effect was merely a byproduct of its increased processing activity. "We need to stabilize the power flow," Alina thought spoke, her engineering knowledge merging with Nyxus's understanding of resonance technology. Help it restore its original computational state. Working in perfect synchronization, they extended the resonance matter into the facility's systems. Elena's human intuition guided them while Nyxus's precise control of the liquid metal allowed them to interface with both the ancient technology and the crystalline intelligence simultaneously. The entity's patterns shifted again, acknowledging their efforts. The temperature began to stabilize as they helped it optimize its power usage, creating a balance that would allow both its continued calculations and their survival. Your species learns quickly, Nyxus observed privately through their connection, their thoughts tinged with what Elena now recognized as admiration. And yours adapts brilliantly, Elena responded, feeling their shared success as the facility's systems found a new equilibrium. The ice sphere around them began to retract, leaving behind intricate crystalline growths that pulsed with soft light, the entity's way of maintaining contact while returning to its contemplations. As their merged consciousness began to separate, Elena felt a profound sense of loss. The intensity of sharing thoughts with Nyxus, of experiencing an alien perspective so intimately, had changed something fundamental in her understanding of life and intelligence. The resonance matter connection can be maintained, Nyxus offered, sensing her reaction, at a less intensive level for safety and continued understanding. The crystalline entity had left them with a gift. A small portion of its processing power now helped regulate the facility's life support systems, ensuring they would survive until rescue arrived. But it had also left them with questions that would take far longer to answer. Your people's legends about humans, Elena said, as they began to explore their newly stabilized shelter, still connected by a thin layer of resonance matter. Do any of them mention what happens after the impossible chances are taken? Nyxus's bioluminescence created patterns that matched the crystalline entity's pulses. Those stories are still being written, as is ours. Above them, the storm continued to rage across the moon's surface, but inside, three very different forms of intelligence had found a way to coexist. Elena thought about the reports she would eventually have to write, trying to explain how a crash landing had led to first contact with not one but two alien intelligences. The resonance matter rippled with what she now knew was Nyxus's version of laughter. Perhaps some experiences defy traditional documentation. Maybe that's why we keep reaching for the stars, Elena replied, watching the play of light between Nyxus's bioluminescence and the entity's crystals. Not just to survive, but to find new ways of understanding existence itself. Through their connection, they both felt the crystalline entity's patterns shift slightly, a cosmic mathematician's equivalent of agreement. The facility's sensors picked up the megastorm first, a massive weather system that dwarfed anything their initial crash had forced them to shelter from. Through the resonance matter link, Elena felt Nyxus's concern ripple like mercury against her consciousness. The crystalline entity's calculations are being affected, Nyxus observed, their shared awareness detecting subtle changes in the geometric patterns that filled the lower chambers. The electromagnetic disturbances from the storm are creating interference. Elena studied the sensor readings, her human instincts merging with Nyxus's analytical capabilities. These energy readings, they're off the charts. The storm's not just big, it's pulling energy directly from Neptune's magnetosphere. The crystalline growths that lined the facility's walls pulsed with increasing frequency, their patterns becoming more chaotic. Through their now-practiced connection to the entity, they felt its growing distress. Its vital calculations were being disrupted by the electromagnetic chaos above. We need to shield the facility, Elena said, already moving toward the main control chamber. The resonance matter flowed seamlessly with her movements, her connection to Nyxus now so natural she barely noticed it. If we can extend the containment field's properties, the power requirements would be substantial, Nyxus finished her thought, and the entity requires significant energy for its calculations. A deep tremor ran through the facility as the storm's leading edge hit. The crystalline growths flickered, their patterns fragmenting. Alina felt a mathematical scream echo through their shared consciousness. The entity was losing coherence. Wait, Alina said, an impossible idea forming. The storm itself, it's basically a massive energy conductor, right? What if instead of shielding against it, we use it? Nyxus's bioluminescence shifted to a new pattern. The one Alina had learned meant intense consideration. You suggest channeling the storm's electromagnetic energy through the facility's systems. Through us, Alina clarified. The resonance matter can conduct energy. The entity processes pure mathematics if we position ourselves as a bridge. The risk would be extreme, Nyxus warned, but Alina felt their excitement matching her own. A single miscalculation could overload both the resonance matter and our nervous systems. The storm intensified, and chunks of ice began falling from the ceiling. The entity's patterns were becoming increasingly erratic, millennia of calculations threatening to unravel. Sometimes survival, Alina began. Taking impossible chances, Nyxus finished, their shared thought carrying equal measures of determination and concern. Your species' propensity for risk is becoming less surprising. They worked quickly, using the resonance matter to modify the facility's ancient energy collection systems. The crystalline entity, sensing their intent, began restructuring its growth patterns to create a more efficient conductive network. Ready? Alina asked as the storm reached its peak intensity above them. The facility groaned under the electromagnetic onslaught. Instead of answering, Nyxus initiated the connection. The resonance matter around them began to glow, conducting energy from the storm through their combined consciousness and into the entity's crystalline matrix. Alina felt electricity course through her entire being, raw power from Neptune itself flowing through the impossible bridge they'd created. The sensation was beyond anything human language could describe. Through their enhanced connection, Alina experienced Nyxus's alien senses merging with her own. They became aware of the entity's vast mathematical consciousness expanding to encompass the storm's chaos, transforming raw energy into pure computation. Time lost meaning. They were no longer three separate beings, but a singular conduit, translating nature's fury into the mathematics of existence. Alina felt her human mind stretching to encompass concepts that should have been impossible to understand. Nyxus's consciousness supported her, kept her from losing herself in the mathematical infinity. When the storm finally began to subside, they emerged changed. The entity's calculations had not only continued, but accelerated, its understanding of universal entropy enhanced by the very chaos that had threatened to destroy it. The facility hummed with new energy, its systems transformed by their desperate gambit. Your solution was, Nyxus paused, searching for the right words through their connection, uniquely human. Alina laughed, the sound echoing strangely through the crystalline chamber. Is that a polite way of saying recklessly creative? Perhaps, Nyxus admitted, their bioluminescence creating patterns that matched the entity's now stabilized calculations. But it is also why this worked. My people would have sought perfect control. The entity would have sought perfect mathematics. Only a human would think to dance with chaos itself.